means shaking hands with nature. I read this beautiful quote today, and yes, it means a lot. Being a farmer, it's not a joke, it's a huge challenge. Today, we have with us some wonderful people, and yes, day three, once again, we are going to have an amazing session. I request Dr. T. Jayakumar, Dean of Farm Management, Konganadu Arts and Science College, to felicitate the gathering.
Thank you, Ravi. Is it audible?
Yes, sir, it is audible.
Thank you, Ravi. Good evening, one and all present here. It's a great pleasure and honor to be a part of this international colloquium on revisiting Indian agriculture. First, I thank the team for inviting me to share my thoughts. And also, I'd like to congratulate the entire team of biotechnology and botany having a right topic chosen for this international conference. I think it's the right time. Just I will tell my background. I am a commerce man. I'm a bit know about only the biotechnology and the botany side. But one thing I'll make it very sure that I'm coming from the background of agriculture. My family is belong to the agriculture. Father in 1970s, 75. My father usually tell only one thing: you have to study well, you go out of this farmland. This is what my father said from the initial stages. He never allowed me to do an agriculture in my farm. It has happened in 1980s. I will tell you a few things. In 1980s, my father used to cultivate only two varieties of agriculture, that is IR20 and Ponni variety of paddies. There is a transition has happened in 1990s. We started growing the coconut trees. That is a coconut farming has started in 1990s. In 2000, water scarcity is a very big problem. Many of the farmers, including my father, has lost many of the coconut trees in the year 2000. He struggled to make me. It has happened in 2000. Then in 2000, what my father has to save the coconut trees, he started using the drip irrigation in 2000s. Till now, he is following the same. Now, what is the problem in the agriculture? Labor is a very big problem. We don't have the labor. We could not find a labor to climb the coconut trees. Last month, it has happened the 3 months before. Nobody has to climb the coconut tree. I have settled down in the city life because my father told me, don't come to the farm. You take care of yourself. Now I reached the age of 45. My father reached the age of 80s. Nobody is to climb the coconut tree. So I told them, why don't you go for the mechanization to climb the coconut tree? Why don't we use the mechanized farming methods or methods? But till now it has not happened. So this is at present in 2020 what the problem is. Labor is a problem, price is the problem. So these are the problems a real agriculture is facing today. With these few thoughts, I don't want to take it much time. I congratulate the entire team to discuss those things. And also a new problem is the insects is the new problem. What is that insects is the in Coimbatore regions, Coimbatore districts, white flies is playing a vital role. We don't know how to control this white flies. But what the farmers they will put an yellow cover inside that lands, and also put a light on that, and also put an oil in that yellow covers. The white flies will come, sometimes will face a problems. And also few years back, we have faced a Europeta problem. Europeta in the sense that coconut, some insects will eat everything. You should not have the taste, the coconut's real taste, you will not have that. That oil also will be in less. These are the problems faced by the real farmers. But as a city, my father made me to study well, made me to settle down in this life. I don't know. Now I will only on days to my village. All the village people say that only one thing: you are lucky. You have gone out of the village. You stay awake. You enjoy your life. This is what the real farmers say to me. With those few words, I congratulate the entire team. And also, I have seen a one line thing. Modiji has pointed out that one thing in 2022, Indian farmers' revenues will double in the 2022. This has happened. More persons will enter into an agriculture. Otherwise, so many villages will wait. Then the city's population will go up. With these few words, thank the entire team that is the Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Madan Sankar, also a botany department head, uh, Dr. K. Tenmoli Madam, and organizing secretaries Dr. Sivaprasam and also Dr. M. Praveen, Assistant Professor, and Dr. P. Reddy and Dr. M. Gokul Ramnath for this wonderful choosing a wonderful topic for the discussion. And also, and professors going to talk regarding this uh, uh, from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Dr. Usha Meena, welcome you, madam, and also speaker Dr. Taylor Yonek, uh, Atul University Faculty of Fisheries, welcoming and leading the for thank you so much for this giving this wonderful opportunity to share few words of my difficulty, of my family's difficulty, farmers' difficulties. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
D. Murthy Sir, and Professor, Department of Botany, Unganada Arts Science College, to introduce the guest speaker.
Thank you, sir. A graceful and pleasant good evening to all. It is my great honor and privilege to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Usha Meena, Associate Professor, School of Environmental Science, Jawaharlal University, Delhi. Madam completed her undergraduate honors degrees in botany and chemistry at Banasthali Vidyapith, Jaipur, Rajasthan, and she completed her postgraduate MPhil PhD in Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Agroecology, air pollution, and environmental impact assessment are the specialization area of Dr. Usha Meena ma'am. Ma'am has lot of best peer-reviewed publications and also she published books. Madam act as a member of IUCN Commission on Ecosystem Management in the year of 2017 to 2020. Madam doing collaborate with research, various research organizations, government funding agencies like DPD, DST, IIT Madras, Baba Atomic Research Center, National Thermal Power Corporation Limited, National Communication, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Now, I hand over the session to Usha Meena ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Murthy. And first of all, I just want to thank all the organizers. And today is my co-panelist, Dr. Jay Kumar and Professor Talat, as well as Dr. S.R. Madan, who is the key person who has given me this opportunity to join this event. So I thank you all. And before starting my lecture, I just want to share my presentation. So just give me a minute, please. And I think my presentation is visible to all of you.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Just thank you. Actually, in Google Meet there is a problem. If you go back to your slides, so I will not able to see whether my slides are moving or not. If that thing happens, so please make sure just interrupt me. So I will keep this in alignment. Okay, thank you very much. I'm just giving. So today's topic is the topic of your curriculum is revisiting Indian traditional agriculture and contemplation. And if in Hindi we will say it is Bharatiya Paramparik Krishi, Punanirakshan and Chintan. So, and my topic was climate change and sustainable agriculture and how traditional agriculture and varieties conservation will help us in enhancing the sustainability under climate change scenario. So, in my lecture, I will just give in brief an overview of causes of that why we are revisiting and doing this contemplation, and then just in brief discuss the traditional agriculture in context of India and what can be done by different person like policymaker as well as our role as an individual, how we can do. As we all know that we are doing in today's time, the main causes which are hampering our agriculture productivity or they are stagnating or declining the agriculture productivity is climate change. We all know then natural resource base on which this agriculture productivity is dependent, and as well as the way we are doing this agriculture. We are doing these practices. It is unsustainable agriculture practices. And all these factors are leading to the food insecurity as well as increase in hunger index. And it is also making insecure the millions of our smallholder farmers who have land less than 2 hectares, and also enhancing the poverty and, as Dr. Joy Kamar has told, enhancing the migration also from rural to urban sector. So in that light, I just want to say that this sorry. This International Assessment of Agriculture Knowledge, Science and Technology for Development, this initiative which has been initiated in 2002 by WHO in collaboration of FAO, they say that agriculture and science, when both they come together, then only they will able to reduce the poverty and hunger, and they improve rural livelihood and health, as well as promote equitability and environmental and economic sustainable development. So when we see all these things in context of Indian agriculture, then we all know that Indian agriculture has come along a very long way. It has, we have reached today when one, then one was the time when our Prime Minister Indira Gandhi has approached the foreign countries for food export. But from that stage today, we are self-sufficient. Our food grown production have reached around 144.52 metric tons, and in among all those countries. So in terms of food, we have enough food to feed the all, but still, though we have enough food, but most our global hunger index is increasing, is still very high. So we need to contemplate that what is the reason behind that. And though in today's time, Indian agriculture ranked first with respect to highest net cropped area, we ranked second in terms of output. Okay, and our 50% of Indian workforce is involved in agriculture sector, and we are contributing 17 to 80% of country's GDP. And in agriculture commodities also contribute hugely in exports also. In COVID pandemics also, the major exports were done with respect to agriculture commodities only. So post Green Revolution and after the 90s, if you will say, then Indian agriculture has sector has seen many revolution, like Green Revolution with respect to crop, White Revolution for milk, Blue Revolution for fish, Yellow Revolution for oil, Gold Revolution for honey and horticulture sector, Silver Revolution for egg, and Brown Revolution for coffee, Grey Revolution for wool, and many more will come, we are sure. But with and scarcity stage till 19, by 1950, now we are at food surplus stage. We have crossed the stages of food shortage and food sufficiency. Now we are at food surplus stage. The food production of India is increasing. Overall, also world food production is increasing, but the India is also a major contributor in that. But and in last 10 years, we get a major enhancement in the food production. So if we will see, we will compare the agriculture sector's contribution in economy and how it is affecting the environment, then we will see with respect to these approaches, in terms of priority, we'll say economy in context of India, economy priority is over the environment, and environment and when we compare it in context of environment, then environment should be over the economy. Okay, these are the contradictory approach. When we are talk of sustainability, then we give upper hand to the environment things, and we will say that environment should be over the economy, but economy is also very important. Then the objective of economic growth is maximization of profit, and when we talk in terms of environment, then it leads to the steady state. In terms of technology, if we will say, then economy focused on unalloyed good, environment say good or bad, there are two things will come. And in economic terms, when we apply fertilization, then its objective is maximum output, wherein environment, the approach suggests that we should use organic fertilizer. So in this way, environment is in minority at present and at times marginalized also. And Indian economy, it is expanding, and if this scenario will continue, so over a period of time, environment will again further marginalized. So globally also economy is crossing different stages, and future is also with respect to blight. But when we are seeing that food production is increasing and economy is rising, both things are there. Agriculture is also doing, means we are at food surplus stage. So we will say globally as well as nationally, food production is increasing and economy is also increasing. But what about the environment, which is supporting the food production? And in context of the, because if the environment balance or ecological balance will disturb, then obviously its output will be reflected in terms of food production as well as economic growth. So in terms of environment, the current status, we all know that our environmental growth is evaluated or is with respect to status of this 9 boundary, this planetary boundary concept. And we have already crossed this 2 nitrogen cycle and biodiversity loss. And with climate change also very soon, we will, because all IPCC assessment reports are showing that by the end of century, there will be 4 degrees Celsius rise in temperature if business as usual will go. So we will see that, and besides these 3 cycles, we are also very near to cross the phosphorus cycle and ocean acidification component. Also out of 9 boundaries, we are near the danger point, or we have crossed the limits, the safe limits of these 5 boundaries. And if we will see in terms of Earth Overshoot Day, the Earth Overshoot Day is the measure of world's biocapacity, means the capacity of world's natural resources of regeneration to meet the human demands. And that is, human demands will be reflected in terms of ecological footprint. So we will say that at present, in today's 2021, the whole population of planet Earth is utilizing resources is 1.6 in terms of planet's resources. It is 1.6 times of planet's resources. So we are talking of sustainability. When sustainable development term itself say that it is the development in which we will fulfill the need of present generation without the compromising the needs of future generation. But when we are using this 1.6 times of planet's natural resources, so where we are addressing that sustainability, which we need to find out. And if in terms of resources, we will say, then water availability in India is reducing, we all know. And current per capita availability is around 1500 cubic meter. And you can see in this scenario that this is the water stress. We are below the water stress level. That is, if 1700 cubic meter per day, we will come below this per capita availability, then that stage is known as water stress stage. And if we will go below 1000 cubic meter, then water scarcity. And it is very much evident in summer season also. In South also, we have seen that how in Chennai, the people have faced the water crisis, and in different parts of India also. So this is, and the reason we all know that our aquifers, the resource base, the aquifers were depleting, aquifer. And this picture is clearly showing that the ratio of groundwater footprint to aquifer area in India, in northern India, in western India, it is in red zone. And similarly, in other countries, also it is less than 1. And in India, this map is showing the number of pumps which has been fitted for groundwater extraction. So this is that as the population is increasing, the demand of water is increasing, and to feed that population, we need to enhance the crop production. And we know that 70 to 80% of fresh water is consumed in agriculture production sector. And besides, also we are polluting it also. So the pollution of water is also increasing. And in agriculture sector, we are utilizing nitrogen as a fertilizer, but we are not utilizing it judiciously. So we are also creating an imbalance in nitrogen inputs in the world. Okay, though this figure is clearly showing, this red is that the maximum imbalance is in China, in India, and in Northern America, in some countries. And as we are adding more nitrogen, so we are also responsible for ammonia emission. So India is a global hotspot for ammonia emissions. And this is the ISI satellite data of 2014. And we are also declining. We are also responsible for the biodiversity loss. Our Global Living Planet Index indicate that how much decline, around 30% biodiversity has declined since 1970s. And the rate is very high. That is the cause of concern. And with respect to climate change, we all are experiencing it. Okay, earlier we used to we say that okay, it is happening or not, but now all over the world we all are experiencing frequent climate extreme events, and that which has been predicted under climate change reports. So we all say that it is happening and it is affecting. And among the last few years, 2019 was the second hottest year in 140 years. Just behind 2016 has been declared. And it has been also projected, if we will not follow any interventions, or if we will not do any mitigation, we will not adopt any mitigation option, and we will go in case of business as usual, and by the end of century, by 2100, the increase in temperature will be between 3.7 to 8.8 degrees Celsius. And we all know that what is the reason of climate change. There are different evidences which has been that average surface temperature is increasing, global sea level has rose, there is a decline in ice sheets over Arctic and Antarctic, acidity of surface ocean water is increasing, glaciers are retreating. And this intermittent report of IPCC now to AR5 has come. So all this have to indicated that climatic extreme events are increasing, that the frequency of cyclone we have in India have itself, or over the world we have seen Tukate, Yas, Amphan, Nisagra, Fani, all these cyclones we have seen. And they, along with that, the heavy rains, unpredictable heavy, like in northern India in month of October we have observed heavy rains which have been responsible for the cause of harvest which was in the field in northern Indians farmers field, and that rain have damaged that product, that harvest also. In summers we observe the heat wave extremities also, floods and droughts frequencies also increasing. So we will say this is the status of climate, and this is the status of environment. And the major cause of concern, all this are reflected among the climate change. If we will consider it as a major cause of concern, and we correlate it with the agriculture, then it is very clear that agriculture and climate change both are working in a feedback mechanism. How that agriculture sector is also acting as a source as well as sink of greenhouse gases. Three major greenhouse gases with respect to which the climate change assessments were done. And climate change is also affecting the agriculture. And the impact of climate change on agriculture has been addressed through three components. First is the adaptation. First is the impact on agriculture. Impact of climate change on agriculture has been established. Now, what are the adaptation options available to minimize that impact? Or what are the ways through which we can mitigate the emission of these greenhouse gases which is taking place from different agriculture sector? And this adaptation, the combination of adaptation and mitigation options vary with respect to vulnerability, that which state or which ecosystem is more vulnerable, and vulnerability is directly proportional to the climate resilience. So these are the things which are directly linked with the agriculture and climate change. And we all know that India is emitting around 6.5% of global GHG. We are very, we will say, very less contributing in global GHG emissions. And out of those GHGs which are emitted, the agriculture sector is contributing only 18. The major contribution is coming from energy sector and through other industry, and through 1% is from waste. And among agriculture sector also, the major contribution is coming from this entry contribution, that is livestock sector one, then from soils, agriculture soils, and then rice fields, and some minor from crop residue working and manure management practices. But this GHG emissions which is taking place, and because of those, if there is increase in temperature, or we will say elevation of CO2 level will be there, though it has been considered that increasing CO2 level will be act as a fertilizer for certain crops. But if in combination with these two factors will persist into the atmosphere, then ultimately they will adversely affect the crop's productivity. So this picture is showing that this red is those crops whose productivity will decline under climate change scenario, whereas the blue crops like potato, groundnut, and coconut, they have a mixed. Some varieties, in some regions, their productivity will enhance, in some it will decline. Whereas this green crops productivity will enhance, like gram, soybean, onion, and castors productivity will enhance. So this has been, but since we all know that the major crops, staple crops, we show excess, we will food availability like wheat, rice, and maize. So this crops productivity decline in at least in tropical countries. And this projected loss in food production due to climate change by 1980 will be more prominent, okay, among all these countries which are responsible for their productivity. So climate impact, risk, and vulnerability assessment are used to identify the nature and magnitude of these impacts for natural system and human society also. But we will see that though these impacts will be there, but the developed countries have more resilience to this impact as compared to countries. And developing countries, who people will be the worst, will be affected, who will be affected by things. And I'm just saying that with respect to Indian agriculture also, the vulnerability assessment has been done, that which regions agriculture will be more vulnerable to the climate change impact. And this assessment has been done up to a district level. And these assessments are now utilized by the policymakers to look out for the adaptation options and the mitigation options, that how we can minimize the impact of climate change. And similarly, with respect to coastal and island region of India also, the impact as well as much with respect to each state, like in coastal and island region, there will be Gujarat, will be there, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, and Odisha. Now the reports are available that how much increase in temperature will take place, how much change in precipitation will take place, and this changes will how much affect how much agriculture productivity of these sectors will be affected by these changes. So this has been now at district level, all these reports are available, and accordingly now the policy interventions are in place for adaptation as well as mitigation options. But as I told you earlier also, the poor people, or we will say our small landholders, small farmers, are the worst sufferer, because they are more dependent on natural resources only. And though we have to accept that they are the least contributor in climate change as well as in the degradation of the natural resource base, but they will be the worst bearer of this. And besides this, though we are saying that we are at food surplus stage, but the global hunger fell for decades, but initially it was felt, but now again it is rising. And during COVID times also, the rate has increased. And this is reflected in terms of the India's ranking is 94 among the 107 nations of Global Hunger Index, which came in 2020. So this forced us to rethink. These are the following reasons that we should rethink. Though we have achieved our food surplus stage, okay, we have now know all the knowledge that how we can enhance our productivity. we are following the modern agriculture practices and industrial agriculture practices. But now it is the point of, it's a hard time, we need to contemplate that where we have reached. So if any change in methodology or change in our processes need to be done, then it should be done. And it is the right time that I think RightTech has been organized. And these are the following issues which are coming out, or which has been reported in literature, that this modern agriculture, or in we can say conventional agriculture, is creating problem. There is an issue of access and equity problem. Means I have told you that we are producing surplus, but it is not reaching up to the people, and there is no equal distribution of those food production is there. Then there are socio-economic problem are also coming out. Means those who have a high access, there is a obesity issues are coming, and then diabetic issues are coming. Then industrial agriculture system is consuming huge amount of energy also. So there is an energy problem is also coming out. Then through agriculture practices, we are also responsible for emission of GHGs. So in that way, we are contributing to the climate change problem. We are degrading our natural resources, and this has industrial agriculture has emptied rural area as well as multiple research with the social and scientific problem. So with this background, can we say that economic growth that we have achieved is destroying our environmental support, and it is not going to be continue, or it is not going to be sustainable? Then what is the way forward? How we will should move ahead? Okay, so in that case, there are three steps we need to cover. First is we need to recognize the situation, which we have already done, that this is the status of our environmental resources and this is the status of our agriculture sector. Now we need to identify, after recognizing the situations, we need to identify the solutions. And among those solutions, we need to prioritize those solutions also. So this is the process. So first of all, when we are recognizing the situation, then we are recognizing that with respect to priority, now we have to prioritize both. It is not a thing that we know we should compromise our economy and environment. We have to go parallelly, but now we do not need to bring environment below the economy. Second, with respect to growth, it should be sustainable. With respect to technology, we should go for more green technologies. With respect to fertilization, we go for integrated fertilizer approach, when we have to use a combination of organic and inorganic fertilizer. Then we need to come out with new systems. And then our health system is under crisis. That's why we are coming out with this solution. So when we are talking of the sustainable development, then we need not only have to focus on our GDP or Sensex. We need to bring the social development, equity in. We need to bring environmental protection, that is future. We need to take care of environmental resource-based requirement future generations. And in light of that, the globally also they have accepted 17 SDGs were brought, and the targets which were given under this 17 SDGs were achieved. Those countries who are contributing to it to achieve by 2030. So, with respect to sustainable agriculture, we have to adopt effective, competitive, and efficient production practices. And in doing this, we have to protect and improve the natural environment and socio-economic condition of local communities in conformity with we need to improve that. And how we achieve this. For this, there have been few solutions proposed. One, that we need to go eco-regional agriculture, because all vulnerability assessment has been done, and for vulnerability assessment, we have to go for reason agriculture planning, and in we are going reason agriculture planning, and we need to find out, we need to bring this socio-economic component also in picture. That is the cultural background of reason. Okay, what is the cultural belief of population of that region, and though climate is a very important role, when we are saying eco-reason, so in the climate already is added that climate should support the growth of that agriculture crops growth. So this is the eco-regional agriculture plan we are talking. So this already brings in picture that agriculture production over the past have brought reached its landmark, but its inequitable balance and negative impact on the environment and the resources are also evident. So here we need to compare that what are those agriculture options which are available which have a negative impact on the environment, less negative impact on environment, as well as ensuring the economic gain to the farmers also. So when we want to contemplate on that, then the traditional agriculture comes in a picture, and then the comparison of traditional agriculture with modern agriculture need to be done. And we know that generally this traditional agriculture till now it has been practiced by the small land holding, we will say our small farmers which have a small land holding size, where modern agriculture is more successful or more adopted by large farmers or the medium farmers. In traditional agriculture, those farmers generally do polycultures, and whereas in modern agriculture, they generally do monocultures. They have heterogeneous germ plants. They have a huge reservoir of this, we will say, seed diversity with. And but in terms of modern agriculture, they generally have a uniform varieties and hybrids. They use little external inputs. This traditional agriculture, they have a minimum external inputs on the farm, means they use less fertilizer, less irrigation, less external irrigation and other resources, less machinery. Whereas in modern agriculture, the external input base is very high. And in traditional agriculture, they generally do minimum tillage activity, which is, we all know, and whereas modern agriculture, it is appropriate and timely. We know that the tillage is the major contributor for the carbon dioxide emission, and tillage also contribute to the methane emission also in terms of rice farming. Because so if we are recommending for the adaptation of traditional agriculture, so in that way we are giving a mitigation option for climate change also. And in case of traditional agriculture, the period of fallow vary, whereas in modern agriculture it was intensive cultivation was done. So these traditional agricultures are very near to the natural ecosystem of that region only. Okay? So that's why, and they are very much dependent upon the natural resource base of that region. And that's why the traditional agriculture or traditional farming systems are also giving the economic output. Why? Because in that the farmers are doing sustainable intensification, and that sustainable intensification is also in line of that the agroecological requirement or agroecological knowledge base of that region only. Whereas in conventional agriculture system, it is a capital intensive region. More external inputs are going, more subsidies are going in that, and that's why we are getting the more output. So now it has been recognized that we need to follow this, means those eco-regional specific type of traditional agriculture systems we need to identify, and then in those systems, in line of that agroecology of those regions, we need to the sustainable intensification. And in agroecology, we know this is a combination of three terms. It is a science, it is a practice, and it is a social movement. When we are means scientifically, we need to do the sustainable intensification. Sustainable practices we need to follow while doing this, and we need to bring the society in picture for sustaining that system. So this is the, and in that case, the not only in India, globally also, this globally important agriculture heritage systems have been are recognized by FAO, and around the world at present, around 22 globally important agriculture heritage systems has been identified. In 22 countries, 62 systems has been identified. In India also, this 3 agriculture heritage systems got recognition from FAO, and these 3 systems, and this is the list of different agriculture heritage systems which are distributed over Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and Near Eastern region. In India, the three traditional agriculture system who get the tag of agriculture heritage system are from Kutanad sea level farming system from Kerala region, Koratpur traditional agriculture from Odisha, and saffron heritage of Kashmir. So these are the three traditional agriculture systems which got the recognition from FAO as a globally important agriculture heritage systems. Why they got the recognition? Because their contribution of conserving the environment. Okay, conserving natural resource base has been recognized. Besides conserving natural resource base, this agriculture heritage system are also protecting the local biodiversity, and they also promoting agrotourism also, and revitalizing the local cultural activities and creating an alternate source of employment, and that employment especially for women and youth. Besides this they are also responsible for the creation of many entrepreneurs or startups in those regions which are ensuring the supply of those products which were which produced on those farms to the local communities. Means they are creating those local food systems also for the sustainability of this agriculture heritage systems in a traditional way. And since we are talking of this globally important agriculture heritage system, so I just want to play this 2 minutes, very brief clip is there. I don't know if you people will hear. Just let me know you are hearing the sound or not. The sound is coming.
Yes, yes, ma'am, we are hearing it. It's
Okay.
audible.
Thank you. So this is the small picture which I want to share with you all. And you can see that when these traditional agriculture practices were managed in a traditional way, then they are creating a huge landscape, and you can see what a beauty of that landscape is visible. So they are not preserving only the landscape or the natural ecosystem, they are also ensuring the food security, they are also preserving the biodiversity. So in that way, though these are the systems which have realize their importance to the society. And in scientific terms, if we will say, this traditional agriculture in terms of they are combating the soil erosion, they are increasing biodiversity, they are reducing the climate change, means they are mitigating, they are acting as both adaptation option as well as mitigation option for climate change. And they are traditional knowledge system, they are traditional knowledge, they are acting as a traditional knowledge banks, they are generating employment, and they are strengthening the local economy as well as local population health. And they're reducing the cost, input cost, which is going in cost of cultivation in these systems. Then they are creating local market channels, they are improving the rural economy, and they are providing farmers a high market price and women's an employment. So these are the few benefits with respect to social, economical, environmental aspects this traditional agricultures are practices are providing. And this is the picture of, we all, just to give, and we must, all of us must have seen some time or other in farms this type of scarecrow pictures. So this is also a sort of traditional agriculture practices to keep the birds away from the farms. Similarly, in wheat field, this type of ropes are placed so that those birds will come, will feed on those insects which are acting as a pest in the, they are a biocontrol agent. So this type of practices are practiced in traditional agriculture. And in India also, different, we can say in different states, different traditional agriculture practices were prevalent. So I just listed few of them. Forest gardens there, in which the superior tree species were operated in home gardens, which is practiced all over the India, and it is practiced by the locals and the tribes in rural area. Then rice fish culture, it has been practiced in Arunachal Pradesh by Aptanis tribe. In this, they practice aquaculture along with rice farming in their lower plains. Okay, then zoom and shifting cultivation, we all have read when we were in school or colleges, and you people are also reading, those who are our undergraduates who have joined this program, that it has been practiced in East India by Nishis, Karbis, and Kachari tribes. And they do this in shifting cultivation, they follow slash and burn practices for doing this cultivation, and there is a proper management system in place which ensure that they don't do damage to the natural resource base of the season. Besides those, they also have this sacred grove concept which act as their seed reserve bank for them. Then Kana Bandi is also a practice, traditional agriculture practice, which is followed in Rajasthan by locals. Generally, we know that in Rajasthan there is a wind storms were there. So farmers build barrier by small dead wood or local vegetable or local trees to reduce that wind speed. And then they do cultivation. Then badi cropping system is there, which is done in MP by Baiga tribes. They do home gardening practice to enhance the soil fertility of those regions. Besides this, there are other practices like live bunding, vegetative bunding is there, which has been followed in Uttar Pradesh. Then livestock pool panning and following has been followed in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh by specific community like Ahir and Gadaria communities followed. Then Zabo system is there, which is Chekiskin tribe in Nagaland will do. Means, so these are the in India also many traditional agriculture practices are in place and they are recognized by the local those eco regions, and that they are playing their critical role in conserving the natural resources as well as ensuring the economic benefit to those tribes. Besides this, we know that in India around 22 agro-biodiversity hotspots are also there. We know India is a mega, among 17 mega diverse country, India is one of those countries, and we have 3 biodiversity hotspots, but out of this we have 20 agro-biodiversity hotspots. This indicate that in those regions we have a huge agro-biodiversity reservoir is there. So and in those regions only this traditional agriculture practices are more prevalent. And according to Food and Agriculture Organization, it has been, and we all know, we have all must have read one time or another time, that at present our food requirement are met only by 9 plant species. which account for 66% of our total crop production. Though around 30,000 edible plant species are known, and but most of the requirements were fulfilled by almost this 9 plant species. So in this way, we need to recognize that if those people who are following those traditional agriculture practices, they are also contributing for the future populations, means they are conserving those varieties or seed banks which will be utilized in future for sustaining the agriculture productivity or for bringing the diversity in play. And this has been recognized by the Indian government also. MOFCC every year give Indian Biodiversity Award to recognize the contribution of such people who are doing conservation of domesticated species, both livestock as well as crop species, okay? Or as well as those committees, based biodiversity management committees are supporting such type of conservation. Like this year only, this Indian Biodiversity Award for conservation of domesticated species has been given to a person from Kerala who has already conserved around 200 tuber species of tuber crop species. So this time, this type of award has been, or recognition has been given to him, and because he is playing a very crucial role in conserving the biodiversity. Besides this, government also have a policy framework in place, like this National Mission of Sustainable Agriculture is there, and under this mission, this Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana is in place. Under this Yojana, government is supporting such type of traditional agriculture practices under this Bharatiya Prakriti Krishi Pradhaniti. Under Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, means such type of agriculture, traditional agriculture practices also got recognition from the government also. Besides, state government also taking intervention, like Karnataka implemented this zero budget natural farming in its 10 agroclimatic zones. Similarly, Himachal Pradesh government has also put a target of doing natural farming in entire state by 22. Like Sikkim has already declared as an organic state, it means they are following this traditional agriculture practices. I just want to mention this example also because I thought this type of intervention also needed in our country. Like in Switzerland, the subsidies are given only for sustainable agriculture to the farmers who use less fertilizer and get more money. For example, in our country, all types of farmers are getting the subsidy, electricity subsidy and water subsidy. I think that such type of policy changes are also needed in our country. Those farmers who are doing the sustainable or following the sustainable agriculture practices, they should get more money. And besides this, those who, if they have more diversity on their farms, they get additional benefits. In Switzerland, the government is giving the more benefits to those farmers who are maintaining more diversity on their farms. Then in Alps, farmers are maintaining this landscape gardens, and they are paid by the government for maintaining that. So in that way, because in that way they are providing huge amount of natural ecosystem services to the society, and that has been recognized by that government. So in that way, in India also, this traditional agriculture practitioners need to be recognized by the government. Then as an individual, now the thing comes to us that how as an individual we can support this traditional agriculture. First thing we can do that by reducing the food loss, okay? Because naturally, while once the food product has been produced on the farm, but during the transportation and distribution phase itself, their losses has takes place. But I think if it comes to our plate, and if after that we waste, then that is also comes under the food waste, food loss. So if we want to contribute at an individual level, we should minimize that thing. We need to minimize that food loss. Second, by choosing the local and seasonal food, or by doing the diet diversification also, which comes later, means if we want to support the traditional agriculture practices in our region, then we need to buy those food or local seasonal foods or foods which produce on those farm. Okay, and we need to preserve the local variety. We need to get an idea, means in that we need to generate the awareness among the society that what are the local varieties and what are the nutritional benefits of consuming those varieties that need to be awareness program should be organized for that. And in that way, we are reducing the carbon footprint and we are also influencing the diversity. We need to do diet diversification. We know out of 100,000 species, at least half, around 200,000 are edible for human consumption, and only 6,000 are used as a food, and 150 crops are cultivated on a significant scale, but only 3 crops dominate our food system: wheat, rice, and maize. So by keeping this, we need to do the diet diversification also. We need to incorporate millets also in our diet and other we can say nutraceutical crops, which and if we consume, then only the local farmers will grow. Then fifth is we need to make use emerging science and technology also, means integrated high-tech farming also need to be incorporated. For example, we need not to disturb those practices which has been done by the traditional agriculture practitioners, but we need to make them aware that by conserving while doing those practices also they can uh, they can avoid the damage which has been caused by the natural events by using this science and technology, like for example mobile phones, if they get the weather information, so they do the suitable intervention which has been required at those states. So they also need to be made aware about this. So with this, I just want to conclude. I think that the conflict of economy and environment will continue, but nature is the timekeeper to decide how long it will, and its high time has come. We all have seen the climate change extremities were experienced and their frequency is increasing. And so business as usual is not working. So it is a time for an alternate approach, and traditional agriculture, the replacement of some part of modern agriculture by traditional agriculture practices is needed. It's a we can say it's a requirement, it's an important intervention which need to be played. And sustainability is a solution, but needs scientific implementation, because sustainability, then only it will be sustainable. And ecosystem restoration is the key for sustainability. By transforming our modern farms to the traditional farm, we are doing the ecosystem restoration, and we need to that. And then the for that we need to reimagine, recreate, and restore. So with this, I just want to thank all of you, and I request all of you to worship the nature and form an emotional bond with the nature. Why I am saying to form an emotional bond with the nature? Because we only protect those things with which we have an attachment. And once we create that attachment for our nature, then only we will try to protect the nature. So with this, I just want to end my talk, and thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a wonderful speech.
Thank you.
All right, students. The session is right now open for question and answers. Please post your questions.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you
Good
are.
evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sahil from Department of Botany.
Mhm.
Ma'am, my question for now is, do you think biofertilizers are good alternatives to develop yield as well as, on the other hand, sustain the environment